りおしまい。
What's up, Dragon Ballers? It's Get the Mic with your host on the left, Owl.
And your host on the right, Brock.
And we're coming at you with the only way to dissect mythological storytelling. I don't remember what I used to say, but I had a speech, but I don't know. It's over.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And I've been enjoying myself. Anyways, we're back with a new episode, and we hope you guys have fun with it. We're just talking about how excited we are to continue here with Dragon Ball. And so if you do like what you hear during the episode, please give us a like. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. I know we have a lot of people that watch that aren't subscribed. So go ahead and please do that. We are growing as a channel, so I feel good about that, even though it's small steps. As many people as can hear this analysis and, partake in actual discussions about Dragon Ball that aren't just surface level, it's always going to be a treat. Anything else to say, Brock, before we continue?
No, I'm just excited to get into this stretch of episodes getting towards the end of Dragon Ball.
That's right, and that's what we were just talking about. Yeah, I mean, we have some good stuff coming up, and then, of course, we will go into Z when we have a chance. Hopefully, I can get a schedule going, and we can get more episodes out. But regardless of that, let's go ahead and start with episode 137, Shen, Man of Mystery. And let me actually skip the recap.
I use the app Evernote to take my notes for these streams, and I just have to say, I don't understand how an app can have an update every single time I open it. Like, the whole point of a notes app is that it's easy to use and you know where things are, so you can just quickly take notes. And I feel like Evernote is completely rebelling against the entire thesis of having a notes app. Like, I think I'm just going to start using pen and paper at this point.
Oh, gosh. That's not good. Tangent over. So we left off in the middle of Ma Jr. and Krillin fighting, and it looked like Krillin had done a pretty good job. He landed a good hit on Ma Jr., and, you know, I mean, it wasn't like he was going to do anything really substantial, but it did. Krillin is putting up a good fight, which is to say, well, I'll continue explaining. So here we first see Ma Jr. face off with Krillin, and it looks like Krillin's a little nervous because he's so unaffected by pretty much the best that Krillin had to offer. And as he goads Krillin to charge forth, Krillin takes the bait, and Piccolo enters into a series of combats with him, and then in the air, he ultimately knocks him down, and Krillin surrenders. And that's the first little scene that we see here. There's like no filler either. There's no like B story or anything. It's very focused, which I've always enjoyed the tournament arcs for being that. But I think that's it for the first scene description. If you want to go ahead and jump in, Brock, what do you think about Krillin's match?
Well, one thing about the back and forth about Krillin and Piccolo that stood out to me is there's a moment where Piccolo says that he's actually going to fight him seriously, and we have the clouds rolling in, the storm that Goku keeps dispelling comes back. And then Piccolo, once that happens, Piccolo stretches. I think this is the first time we've seen him do this. He stretches his arm across the whole arena and grabs Krillin. And I don't think that it's a minor thing. To me, there's something to say about the ability of Piccolo to grasp Krillin in a way that Krillin didn't expect himself to be grasped. And then the fallout of the end of the match, where Piccolo thinks to himself, oh, this might be harder than I thought it was going to be for me to take over the world. What I mean by that is that my analysis of Krillin up to this point is that he's kind of operated as like Goku's ego, I guess. He's sort of a reflection of the Master Roshi within Goku. He's like a mini Roshi that Goku has attached to him at all times, and as long as Goku is an idea, there's a Krillin to be a manifestation of the idea of Goku as like an ego or a mask or a face or whatever. And we see at multiple points in the story, of course, that when Krillin is smashed whenever he's killed, it has an effect on Goku because it's sort of like representative of an ego death. But the reason that I pointed out here is that what Piccolo is trying to do in participating in this tournament in the first place is to break the image of Goku, is to defeat the potential hero in the future. And as Krillin is sort of this representation of the ego of what Goku represents, that it's so hard to try to attack that, because this is not even attacking the spirit of Goku. This is just attacking that front layer that Piccolo struggles as much as he does against him, and actually has to employ as many tactics as he does, and actually has to reveal himself to be able to grasp him fully, let's say, speaks to what kind of the theme of Piccolo being part of this tournament is all about, which is that Piccolo needs to smash the image that Goku has created. He has to smash the influence that Goku has now that he emanates down onto people, and that's kind of what Krillin is an embodiment of here in this fight.
Let me ask you if you think this is an accurate description of Krillin. Krillin is the... All right, let's say it this way. If the Logos, embodied Logos, is intended to uplift the human spirit, then Krillin is a reflection of how much that spirit has been uplifted.
Yeah, I think he's an embodiment of that.
Because I think that's exactly right, and we've seen too how Goku has changed Krillin directly, not just like the Goku effect that people talk about like later on, that I don't think really, I think it's just writing, but we actually see like Goku over time. Krillin does start off as like kind of a scheming bastard, but Goku's effect on him through both their hardships too, and it's not just Goku that he interacts with, it's the world too that he interacts with. But Goku's forthrightness and logos embodiment has uplifted Krillin such to this point that you're right. When that is attacked, that's kind of the purpose of the logos, and so it is attacking Goku's spirit itself, right? And that's why it's such an important thing to Goku.
It's like you have to attack through Krillin to get to the spirit, right? Because Krillin he's a defender of it, and I think it's important to point out that there are two forces that act on Krillin in his development, right? The first being Roshi, and the second being Goku. Roshi is sort of this embodiment of all that has come before, all of the wisdom from before, all of the skill and that he can take in. But then Goku is all about potentiality, right? How it can be uplifted and elevated. And so over time, it goes from Krillin being a lot like Roshi, and then Krillin wanting to be a lot like Goku, right? And so at this point, the conflict is about now Krillin he has elevated himself as much as he can in trying to be as much like Goku as possible. And so, yeah, I think you're absolutely right in that Krillin has come to represent that, and that's what
it's Piccolo's why people say like even though Tien has always been stronger than him canonically, right? People say that he's like the strongest human because of what he represents versus, and we'll go over in the next episode. We'll review what Tien represents so we can really hammer that home as well. But right, and so all of that goes to say, back to the clouds. Back to the clouds. So, what I was talking about, or what you were talking about with the clouds, it's very similar to something that happens in the Lord of the Rings. In the Lord of the Rings, the orcs cannot operate in the daylight, right? And so Sauron, in order to attack Middle-earth and Minas Tirith specifically, sends forth a dark cloud right before him. And so he's able to reach that which was further unreachable. And I think that's what this cloud is. It's like the spirit that Majunir's mustering or allowing to be seen, because he's obviously fighting in disguise right now, right? No one knows that, no one's like, oh, it's King Piccolo, run away, whatever. And so the spirit that he's giving off now, that's his aura basically, is not enough to get to Krillin, and so he has to expend his real energy, and that's what that dark cloud.
Well, it's almost like he needs to separate Krillin from the influence of the sun, and Goku essentially is the sun, right?
All right, yeah.
And so he rolls these clouds in, these storm clouds that Goku keeps having to dispel, and by doing so, separates Krillin from the influence that emanates from above, which Goku has become, which is what we've been talking about all this time.
And it's also very thematic, because the whole point of this arc is to say that it's a process. It's not the Logos embodiment isn't a like you defeat the villain, you get the girl, you're done. It's a process that has to recycle, and even if it's not you that does it, the next generation has to carry on with it, etc. And so that's really what the whole story is about. Yeah. And so we see this part of it is saying exactly what you were saying, Brock, that it keeps coming back, and that's something that Goku's contending with. And as an example of that, he's using darkness as a metaphor to, sever his connection to the Logos, to the truth, to all that. And so it's also when Krillin decides to charge too, right? He breaks his own confidence that he used to have. He breaks what Goku would do, for example, and he kind of reverts back to if you remember his desperate charge against Goku in the last tournament when he was just trying to win, after he like grabbed his tail and that failed and everything. And so he kind of reverts to that, and that's ultimately what makes him lose. Then he just, he relies on the Kamehameha wave, but we've already established that that's not going to be effective against King Piccolo or any of the, or Majunior or any of the instantiations we see there, right? And so
The only other thing that I would want to talk about with this fight is what I had mentioned at the beginning of this, which is Piccolo's his ability to grasp things in a way that
yes.
is abnormal, that's above human, right? That he displays that. I think that Piccolo being stretchy, right? The whole Stretch Armstrong thing about the Namekians flows from this one moment in the anime, right? Where it's a surprise that he can do it here, but the reason it's a surprise that he can do it here is to show something else about him, right?
Wait,
And
I
you've
thought
always had a lot to say about reach and exceeding grasp and people's
yeah,
ability to grasp things. I
I
think it's kind of coming from that.
I did think that Piccolo Senior used that though, didn't he?
I can't remember, to be honest, but it's a surprise anyway for Krillin in this moment that this is something that a junior can do, um, and that someone in this tournament can do. Let's say.
Right. And even if it is something that King Piccolo could do, you're right, because they don't know that that's who it is. I mean, Goku kind of knows, and Goku definitely knows, but
Well,
no
what I
one else
mean is
does.
that none of these characters understand that that's a spirit that's in this tournament. They understand that that type of spirit can be a threat to can be an existential threat overall as something that's fought against the spirit of the hero. But I don't think that it's something that the characters understand is something that now has to be contended with to even um to participate in this conversation, to participate in the Budokai Tenkaichi. And so there's an enemy that is in this hierarchy now that can grasp you in a way that no other enemy has been able to. Which then we'll see the reflection of that in the very next fight. But not to get ahead of myself, but these always come in pairs, right?
Right. I would agree with a lot of what you said. And as far as the grasp thing, it is that he understand, and especially too, he's kind of doing almost what Goku did, right? And it's not something that Piccolo Senior did, and it's actually the one thing that is the thing. I think it's part of the reason why what will happen with Piccolo happens later on, but we'll not go down that far. But goodness, what I'm getting at is that Piccolo is kind of mapping on a spirit after Krillin used his best attack, etc., right? Or his fake out, and he got a pretty good hit on Piccolo, etc. He's used that to map out what he needs to do. And so he can reach further than Krillin expects because of the information that he's already given to Piccolo about himself. And I mean, it's also obfuscated by the clouds, right? The clouds allow for that to be more, let's say, transparent to Piccolo. And so when he uses that power, he's able to overcome Krillin. The only other thing I do want to mention too, though, before we move on, is how the Kamehameha appears to hit, right? It's very telling that it also like doesn't beam off, right? It kind of explodes there. Let's watch it back. I think that's right. Oh no, it does shoot off.
Well,
but it does appear to hit him, and the fact that it's a no cell after that is it's not quite what TN does, but it is telling that the truth. Well, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I was going to say it's a matter. I mentioned earlier it's a matter of orientation and Krillin's devotion to what he believes to be right, and also being right in his devotion allows him to be able to do the Kamehameha. It's interesting that Goku can do that easily at the very beginning of the series, and it's taken this long before we see Krillin be able to do it, right? And it's only after Goku's been able to completely master his intellect because that's what we're seeing here, is that Goku can actually control his mind. He can actually control his thoughts. It's only after that we see Krillin able to do a Kamehameha wave. And that's not to just say like, I told you so, Krillin is Goku's ego, but I think the relationship between Krillin and Goku is kind of highlighted by that fact. The problem, though, lies in the fact that like it shocks Piccolo for sure. He's very surprised that it's something that Krillin can do. It's to say that Goku has imparted the wisdom of the proper orientation towards the path and the right attitude towards what is true to people as a whole, as an idea, and that Piccolo is more on the back foot in this fight against the idea of the hero than he thought he was. But it's not enough naturally. It's not enough power to be able to defeat Piccolo. But it is, I think it's shown there to show that Piccolo is out of his depth, that he doesn't actually know the effect of what has happened with Goku all this time, because Piccolo's been down on the earth training, but Goku's been training as an idea. And so he's surprised by the fact that Goku as an idea now can emanate out a Kamehameha wave in that way. And it's not coming from someone like, say, Master Roshi, who's like this wise master who has fought against demons in the past, but this is an extension of Goku that does it, and not Goku himself. That the spirit flows through in that way.
I will just correct you on one thing. I do agree with a lot of what you said. I will just correct you on one thing, though. Krillin did use the Kamehameha wave last Tenkaichi Budokai. He just didn't. I mean, he didn't use it well. He kind of used it well. He used it to fake out Goku, or was it Goku or Master Roshi? I can't remember. If he fights Jackie Chun in the second.
Well, that's the effect of taking years to do this analysis, is that it's hard to remember every technique that gets used across the different Budokais.
Hold on. I can remember it. Just give me a second.
But as far as the effect that it has specifically towards Piccolo Jr.
Second.
And why it's used when it's
second
used.
Tenkaichi Budokai used it on Goku. That's right. Anyways, go ahead.
But anyway, as far as like the effect that it has on Ma Jr., the effect and the reason that it's used when it's used how it is, I think is to that effect. It's to show that, and then we hear the internal monologue from Piccolo after this, where he's thinking, "Oh, this might be harder than I thought it was going to be." When he sees all the different ways that Krillin is actually able to contend with him and fight him and stand up against his attacks too.
Right. And I did think of a better way to articulate what I was trying to say earlier. Oh, maybe Chaozu too. Yeah, he's used it before. That was my point.
Yeah, I didn't think this was the first time he ever did it, but it's definitely a surprise in the scene, the way that he uses it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the first time he's used it in a more like straightforward way. But what I was going to say about the no selling thing, Piccolo's using the after image, and with the after image, he's got like a really like the spirit he's projecting is very hey, what up, Baz? And Chris Sombra, of course.
What's up, Baze,
yeah. Baz. Anyways, but it does. Oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say. We'll just move on. We can move on to our next scene here.
We spent a lot of time talking about what the Kamehameha means.
Yeah. We got to, it's important to. And then we see this flashback of Krillin, how far he's grown, etc. Kind of what we were echoing back to on how he's grown with Goku's influence. So our next match is going to be Yamcha and Shen, and it starts off pretty quickly. There's not a lot of bravado before, but you do see here the bow exchange happens, And Yamcha's polite, but he doesn't take his opponent seriously. As you can see, he's laughing at him and all that. And so as the fight proceeds, it looks at first like Yamcha's going to be able to win because he's just a goofy man, but every slip and every time Yamcha tries to do something, it seems like fate has decided against him. And so he takes one to the stomach, his next one he takes to the crotch, and the fight pans out that way until Yamcha's basically had enough, and towards the end he decides to use the Wolfang Fist, and we'll get into some dialogue and all that too when we talk about it. So let's just start at the beginning, I guess, when they do exchange. Oh my goodness, where is it? Yeah. So where they do exchange here, Yamcha steps in.
One thing I want to point out here is that you can see that everybody thinks that this is going to be an easy fight for Yamcha. And there's a point where Shen says that it's an honor to fight you. And then we see Yamcha kind of laughs to himself and he says, "Oh, it's an honor to fight you too." And there's something about Yamcha trying to save face and figure out a way that he comes off looking good in this fight from the very beginning. You know, that's the whole theme of this fight moving forward is going to revolve around that. But there is, from the very beginning, Yamcha doesn't really have a way to look good participating in this fight. He can win the fight, hypothetically, but there's no path forward for him to look like, to save face. I think save face is probably the best way to put it, because we've talked about Yamcha's face before. So he goes into this fight with an attitude that's like, well, I just need to win this fight magnanimously, right? I just need to win this fight in a way that makes it seem like I went easy on the guy.
Oh, I was wrong. It's actually only the English. Go ahead.
And that's basically the setup for him not being able to handle this fight well, which is that he is trying to project an image of the fight. He's trying to make the fight look a certain way. And the way he's talking to Shen is inauthentic. He's not being true to his feelings about the fight. And so there's a dishonesty in the way that Yamcha's approaching the fight towards Shen.
Which is ironic because later on, Yamcha will criticize Shen for being dishonest.
The whole fight is ironic.
Right.
Everything in this fight is ironic. All the dialogue is ironic. The situation is ironic. But it's ironic from the very beginning, yeah, because Yamcha is thinking to himself, he's just like, "Oh, I got to get this over with quick." You know, it's not going to be it's not going to be an honorable fight, but I have to preserve my honor anyway, right?
Yeah, it's not really for the thrill of the fight, right? I mean, if you look, let's just take something that we have talked about before, okay? Let's take this. Let's look at where they're looking, right? Oh my gosh, you stupid thing. Hold on. He's an ordinary middle-aged man. So look at their gaze, their focus, let's say. Where is their focus? And Yamcha's is clearly on the crowd. Shen is on Yamcha. And for different reasons, which we'll get into in a minute.
It's a great shot there, yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of good ones to try and use for the thumbnail. But this is exactly Yamcha's folly here, and it's because his attention has always been the thing, his weakness, more or less, right? His attention has almost always been flawed, and it's one of the reasons why he never finishes highly. And it's, we've talked about the embodied potential masculine that he was in the first season, and now we're seeing how he's grown from that And now he's somewhat realized, but the issue is the realized spirit that he embodies is one that is focused on the wrong things. And it's not focused on the idea, or let's say in the realm of spirits even, or the realm of ideas. He's very he's like a groundling.
I mean, his biggest cheerleader in this fight is Bulma, right? And Bulma cares the most about appearances. And so in this sense, he also is caring the most about his appearance in this fight, how it's going to come off, because it's a foregone conclusion that obviously he would win the fight.
And in a way, we were talking about ego death. We got to talk about some ego damage coming up right here.
Yeah.
So, and Yajirobe knows that Yamcha's going to lose. I think that's important to say. It's because Yajirobe actually knows what Shen is about, like that he, not just that he's a deceptive person, but that he's really powerful. And so, again, his knowledge allows him to kind of know what's going to happen in the fight, even as strong as Yamcha is. And so we see that first.
Yajirobe sees through the ego, right? And that's been the theme of Yajirobe from the very beginning.
Right. He really is. He's self-preserving, but very ego-less in a way. Just because, like, he doesn't care how fat he gets. He doesn't care any of that. He's very self-preserving, self-serving, but that's not necessarily.
He's in tune with the self, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really go against that analysis.
Well, the thing is that with Yajirobe, it's interesting. You know, he wields the sword the way that he does because the sword cuts through all of that, right? It's a piece of his character that he is able to separate the wheat from the chaff, let's say. And it's why he's Goku's companion as Goku goes and has his major ego death in Dragon Ball whenever he goes into the frozen caves, right? And it's that Yajirobe can look at a character like Shen and see through all of the bravado and see the spirit behind it in a way that no other character is able to. And they make a joke out of it a couple of times here, but yeah, I mean it's there's a big difference between Yajirobe and Yamcha, where Yamcha is all about face. Yamcha would not be self-serving in the same way if it would serve his image. And Yajirobe would be completely self-serving and not care about his image, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right about all of the interaction would have gone differently with Yajirobe had he made it this far. But I think we'll focus on the fight, though. I don't want to spend too long talking about Yajirobe right now. Not that he's I think that's a really good analysis of what he is and how he's helped and how he is unique. And I think one of the reasons why watching the original Dragon Ball series is so important to watching Z, but we'll get to that. So let's get into this where he gets hit. So first it's in the kidney. Shen slips, hits him, and kicks him right in the kidney. So kidney, obviously vital organ, etc. But the thing is, it's that center. He's hitting Yamcha's center, and he's starting to chip away at his ego. And so the first hit is that. And one of the things I think Shen really does well here is he represents kind of the cosmic nature of humility, like the let's say, it's going to sound weird to say it this way, the humiliating nature of the universe, or the humbling nature, I guess I should say, of the universe.
He's revealing Yamcha's weakness in the sense that he's showing the places that Yamcha's not protecting himself.
Yes. And so one of those places happens to be a very private area, right? And that adds to the embarrassment, which makes things look worse for Yamcha. Though I will say, Yamcha does. Well, we'll get to it in a second. I mean, Yamcha does outlast this like comedy stage of Shen's combat, whereas like Yajirobe did not last that long.
There's a really good back and forth that can be explained, right? Yamcha first says, okay, I'll let you have the first attack, right? And then doesn't expect it to be a real attack, and then is thrown off guard by the fact that it looks humiliating, and through his sympathy towards the idea of humiliation, leaves himself open and takes a hit to a vital point, right? Which is to say that is Yamcha's weakness, that he's worried about being humiliated, and as such becomes humiliated, right?
Right.
Then he says, I'll attack. And whenever he goes to attack, the idea of his opponent being humiliated throws him off guard, and he humiliates himself through the empathy that he carries. So it's his goodness in these situations that leaves him open. And so it's such an interesting interaction, because if Yamcha was if he was vicious, if he didn't have that empathy, he wouldn't leave himself open. And so we see that Shen is manipulating Yamcha's empathy and showing
expectations,
and his expectations, but the fact that Yamcha has empathy towards the idea of being humiliated leaves him open to be humiliated. In that way, this fight is all about just being a mirror to Yamcha, right? And so when Yamcha goes to do his attack, at the last second, he falters, because it looks like he's going to shame himself by attacking an opponent who's just flinching in fear, and then takes.
He's the only one too that's gotten his leg broken in front of everyone.
Yeah,
you have to also understand Yamcha's story part of this, yeah.
And then, of course, takes it to the vitals again. In this case, to the balls.
To the vital balls. Yeah, and then there's another little exchange that happens. Hold on, I forgot what it is though. Oh yeah, there's actually not. So in the English, it's actually really good, which is wild, because we were just saying how the Japanese is almost always better. There's something really good that happens in the English dub. So in this exchange, it's after Yamcha gets hit in the balls. Shen goes, I can give you some pointers if you need some help training. And Yamcha's like, I'm very well trained. It's going to take a miracle for you to win this match. And Shen says, well, miracles happen every day. And it's such a great embodiment. And I mean, once we figure out who Shen is, it's going to make it's just, it all syncs up so well, because of how he's treating people is exactly how you would expect that cosmic actor to interact with people, right?
Yeah, it's not as simple as just a cosmic judgment as much as it is in every action he does in this fight. He hands the reins to Yamcha and then allows him. It's like it's giving him enough rope to hang himself over and over.
Right, and and Yamcha's endurance to it is a testament to his spirit, but Shen is testing him in each step of the way. And so I really liked that in the English dub that they say that. Because of course that's something that Shen would say. Which I don't think we're not going to get to Shen's identity this episode. I think that's next episode.
Yeah, it's the next one.
And so basically Yamcha's like, all right, let's fight for real. I know that you're BSing me, basically. And he's like, okay, well, we can fight for real then. And he knocks Yamcha down in an instant. There you go. That I was considering using this for the thumbnail, but I like the funny. Shen cracks me up. The funny stance he had earlier, and so he knocks him down. What's that?
It looks unhinged.
I know. Anyways, so yeah, he knocks him down, and they're kind of just like, who is this guy, right? Like, how is he doing all this? or at least the secondary cast is.
The lead up to this part is also very funny because the dialogue is all ironic. Like, Shen says, okay, I'm going to win this fight. It's obvious that I'm going to win this fight to me. And Yamcha starts talking back to him and saying, wow, you seem really confident that you're going to be able to win this fight. And they have this whole exchange back and forth. And it's this amazing exchange where if you reverse the dialogue, if you put the lines in the other character's mouth in that scene, it makes more sense. But because of Yamcha's unawareness of his position in this fight, he can speak so confidently. And it's I say it's ironic because Yamcha is saying things to Shin, not knowing the fact that Shin could say the same lines back to him and it would make more sense.
Right, yeah. And that's almost what you would expect, too.
And then it ends with Roshi saying, "Who on earth is he?" Right? Which is an incredible line when you think about who he is, right? Because he's not from amazing.
Earth. I know, yeah. I know. And it's all very foreshadowed. I mean,
the dialogue in this scene, like if you just run it back and just play it with that in mind, it's unbelievable because there is this interplay between the two characters where Yamcha considers himself to be the foregone conclusion, and he's fighting against a spirit that is a foregone conclusion against himself. But his confidence makes it such that not only his confidence, but also his inability to be humble, right? The mix of those things. It's not just that he's confident, it's that he is not spiritually in a place that he could intuit the lesson as quickly as somebody like Goku, right? And that's what Goku's been training with this entire time. And so the whole fight serves to show a separation between what the sort of earthly training is like and what Goku's training is like, right?
Right. And so it turns out that Yamcha, to frame it in a big way, would be just he would be a faux potential masculine spirit, right? He's not, well, actually, I guess he's still a masculine spirit either way, but he's not the Logos. It differentiates him from the Logos, the way he acts now, especially that he's grown compared to even how he did in the last arc, let's say. He's always been confident, and it's not to say that that's the wrong way to act, but there is a way to be confident and not be that way, and that's what you were saying exactly. I mean, if you reverse the roles, it would be what you would think like a regular shonen battle would be, right? Like the underdog saying like, "I'll do whatever it takes to defeat you." It's really ironic. What Yamcha does say here. But
one other thing to point out, I guess, there's a part 1 and a part 2 of Yamcha's attacks on this character. They get split by the episodes, but the last thing we also see is that he comes at Shin with the Wolf Fang Fist.
Yeah, that's like
and then Shin counters the Wolf Fang Fist with a kick to the leg.
Yeah.
It shows the weakness of the Wolf Fang Fist because he's so hyper fixated on his punches. He's like, oh, okay, well, you weren't paying attention to your feet. And what we're going to see at the beginning of the next episode as a spoiler is that Yamcha decides to go crazy with the kicks, and then he takes a punch. And so the reason that I pointed out in this episode is that it's another reflection of this thing that it's an irony. It's like a dramatic irony with the way that Yamcha's fighting is that all of his attacks reveal a weakness about himself that then Shin can not only attack, but immediately teach him about. Because the whole fight is a lesson this whole time, right? You can see that he's basically tutoring him through. He's saying, "Hey,
yeah," and that's actually something that he is he's appraising Yamcha's spirit as something that worthy of still trying to mold something into. But go ahead.
And he says this multiple times in this episode, and he will in the next episode too. But Yamcha gets mad, and then he's like, "No, you're strong." He's like, "I'm not telling you you're not strong, but you're fighting me." And then Yamcha's mad about that, and he fights him more, and he says, No, the way that you fight and your attitude and your spirit is actually praiseworthy. And so the process of the way that Yamcha keeps opening himself up, it's almost as if it's a test of can you be humiliated and then stand back up and then grow over and over through the fight?
Yeah, and can you humble yourself? And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, he's
can you be humble?
a humbling cosmic force of the universe.
Which, in and of itself, is the ultimate test for Yamcha as the fate.
Exactly. It's why Yamcha's paired up this way.
Yeah,
it's why the pairings are this way.
The fight starts with him trying to figure out how to save his face, right?
Because what would it tell us? What would it tell us if Yamcha went and fought Ma Jr. and I mean, it wouldn't tell us anything if the same thing happened as what Krillin, because he doesn't represent the same thing as Krillin.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no, it's why they're paired this way. And here I paused it at the perfect part because this is the issue. This is Yamcha's major issue, is that his bandwidth is like one. He can focus on one thing at a time. He can try to get a girlfriend, right? He can try to do his Wolfang Fist. He's very one mode, and that's kind of the issue in his life. And his inability to diversify his focus and pay attention to more than one thing is really, it's the level. Like you have to be able to pay attention to things to be able to operate in the realm of ideas that is the Tenkaichi Budokai.
Yeah, are you seeing the big picture?
Right. And now my eyes are open. Fear. Anyways, so I think that's it. I think that's it for Shen, Man of Mystery, episode 137 of Dragon Ball. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Any last thoughts, Brock?
I think it's 138 actually.
Oh man, did we mess up? Did I mess up? Is the thumbnail wrong?
I think the name is right at least.
Let's see, 138. You're right on that. What does the thumbnail say? 137?
I think the thumbnail still says 137.
Oh man, let's see. Anyways, all right, I'll fix that later.
But yeah, no, final thoughts. Yeah, it's a good episode. It's hard to have the ideas wrap themselves up in every episode.
No, it says 138.
But I will say that when we get to 139, the fact that we deal with the resolution of this fight in the beginning of the next fight ties together well enough that it's worth it.
Okay. I'm hyped for that. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you give a like to us for what you liked, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. We hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Wait, I forgot. This has been Get the Mic. I'm your host on the left, Owl.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
We hope you guys have a good night.